We'll do a review in Likutei Sichos in Chelik Tezayin. This is the Sicha for Boy in Yud Shevat. A very interesting Sicha. The Rebbe learns some major halachic discussions, and the Rebbe associates it with a very simple story in which the Rebbe Rashab was told by the Tzemach Tzedek to take those candies that they threw at him when they brought him to Cheder. They threw candies, and there was maybe a question of chametz in there. He made him eat it up before Pesach instead of keeping it. And the Rebbe finds different halachic possibilities that you would be able to keep these candies after Pesach, Solomon to chametz, be hefker. Various different lengthy explanation and halachas in chametz, in the sale of chametz, and the validity, the Alter Rebbe's view about it. And the Rebbe brings out that by the Hasidim, even though some did by the Hasidim, if they had something that contained possibly chametz from the Rebbe that they have received, they have consumed that before Pesach, as the Rebbe says. They wanted it to become Damu Basar Kipsore, they should actually consume it, becomes their own, versus giving it over to a goy, Gimel Kilpus Hatmeyas, or to Hefker, and whether Hefker belongs to everybody or to nobody. The whole discussion, as the Rebbe will discuss in the Sicha, it's very interesting. All this whole lumdus and the whole detailed explanation the Rebbe attaches to this simple story that took place with the Rebbe Rashab. Let's go inside and we'll do step by step. Aleph. So first, the Rebbe brings down this story that Kveit Kedushas made a Choma Admur Bal HaHilula von Heitiken Shabbos. So my father-in-law, the Rebbe, the Bal HaHilula, whose yahrzeit is this Shabbos, it was Yud Shvat. He related as Ben Zain Foter, when his father, Kveit Kedushas Admur von Rashab Nishmos Eiden, had ongegeben gehen in Cheder. He started to go in Cheder. Hat noch der Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek gelebt. The Rebbe the Tzemach Tzedek was still alive. Then Tzemach Tzedek passed away in Tofreish Chov Vav, and the Rashab, Rebbe Rashab, was born in Tofreish Chov Aleph. So Chov Aleph to Chov Vav, there was a few years, and during that time, when the Rebbe Rashab started to go in the Cheder, so that Tzemach Tzedek was alive. When not him down. And then when they brought him into Cheder, zugeworfen zu Kerkes, they threw towards him these Zukerkes candies. Und dabei gesagt, and they said at the time, as Malach Michael hat ihm das geworfen. The angel Michael threw it to him. The little kid, and they say that Michael threw the kids. So even though he was a young child, he's just by him Zeir Niskabel geworden. So this was something that was he accepted it. So he cherished the fact that here Malach Michael was giving him candies. When hat nicht gewollt aufessen die Zuckerkes, he didn't want to eat these candies. Weil sie seien bei ihm gewesen sehr teuer. They were very precious to him. So that's the way he got away with it, not parting from those candies. Erev Pesach is given der minhag. The tradition was that before Pesach, boidig zu sein die Keshenes von the kleine Kinder, to inspect the pockets of the small children. But the Tzemach Tzedek gerufen, so the Tzemach Tzedek called, check the pockets to make sure there's no chametz in there. So the Tzemach Tzedek gerufen dem Taten, he called over my father. This is the father of the Friedrich Rebbe. Friedrich Rebbe relating the story. He called over the Rebbe Rashab as a child. His grandfather called him. Und ihm gefragt, wo hat die Zuckerkes? Where does he have the candies? Now, apparently, at that time, they were inspecting it. Maybe they found it there and they told it Tzemach Tzedek, whatever. I don't know, all the details are not there. But Tzemach Tzedek confronted him and says, where are those candies? So he had to eat them up. Okay, seems like an interesting story. And it seems like very impressive that the child really took to the fact that it was Malach Michael and it was his special candies. But the Rebbe says we have to learn from this, not only as far as education, how important and how having a child like at that age appreciate Malach Michoel and not wanting to eat it, although a child definitely had a desire to eat candies, but yet that's education. But there's also a lot of halachas the Rebbe said we can learn out from this story. Von all them sipur, from this story, wie von alle sipurim for Rabbi Seinu Niseinu, just as from all other stories of our Rebbes, our leaders, ubefrat as sipur wegen dem, was hat passiert bei sie allein, especially when we have a story that happened with them. It's not just a story told by the Rebbe, in this case the Frierdiker Rebbe, but it's a story about the Rebbe. We can take out of this many lessons. Not just in the aspect of education. As the previous Rebbe concludes the story, that is the type of education we need to have a child cherish candies of Malach Michoel that he threw at him when going into Cheder. We have to have such an education. But even more than that, Pesach. Pesach Bechlal is idea of education. So that's in the Parsha. Pesach, it says, you should tell it to your sons, or the pasuk, your sons will ask you. These are all educational lessons that is in the realm of what kind of education you give. But we also have many lessons in the laws, but also many various different halachas in Isur Chametz, in the prohibition of Chametz, similar to it. Was euch wegen dem lernt man the Parsha Seinu also about that. In the Parshas Boy, we learn about many of the prohibitions about chametz. Okay, so first thing we want to understand is that why did Itaka make him sell it? Why make it eat it up? Why didn't he have him sell it into the chametz together with all the chametz? It's like something that was done by great people in Israel, had shirayim. They didn't want a part of it, so they sold it into the chametz. And the Rebbe wants to figure out in this halacha, perhaps maybe selling in this case was not really a good sale because he wanted to really get it back. And maybe Bechlala sale is not a kind of a haram. The Rebbe is going to go through various reasons, but the Rebbe says no. Those reasons do not stand. He could have technically sold it without violating Pesach. Let's go inside. On top of the fact that we're talking about candy, which is not really chametz or not even sure chametz, we'll go inside. The chayre darf man verstehen. The chayre we need to understand. Gebal die Zuckerkes seinen bei ihm, since the candies by him, Chak Admur Morashab Dishmos Eden, by the Rebbe Rashab, given as so tired, they were so precious to the Rebbe. As need gewollt aufessen. He did not want to eat it. He held on to them. Und sie seien doch Tage given adover yoker. And truth is that they were actually something very treasured, very, very precious. Wie bald sie seien gegeben geworden von Tzemach Tzedek, since they were given from the Tzemach Tzedek. Yes, the Tzemach Tzedek said, and as the angel Michoel, which was he was an agent, Tzemach Tzedek of the angel Michoel, to give it to his son, but the candies came from the Tzemach Tzedek, and they had tremendous value because these were owned by the Tzemach Tzedek. Parvos had their Tzemach Tzedek gewollt bedavke. So why did the Tzemach Tzedek once specifically insisted as soll sie auf essen for Pesach, that he should eat them before Pesach? Und hat ihm nicht gelost, sie opiten. He didn't let him keep him, guard them, auf weiter later on after Pesach, verkaufen sie zusammen mit kol hachometz by selling them alongside together with the rest of the chametz. So why did the Tzemach Tzedek not choose the other option from having him sell it together with the chametz? And this is not unusual. Befrat, Rabbi says, as megifint azan hoge b'gedolei Yisrael, we find such a conduct by the great amongst Israel, b'shayches to shirayim, as it relates in connection with leftovers, was a flegam bakuma from a tzaddik, which they used to receive from a tzaddik. As oib as is given azach musad gehat chometz, that if it was an item which had chometz in it, hamazei dos farkevt b'mechiras chometz, then they sold it in the sale of the chometz. So this is something that was done. So how come the Tzemach Tzedek didn't let him sell it? So the Rebbe gives two possible reasons why we could not sell this into the chametz. The Baal Tzemach Tzedek hat ihm das nicht geheißen ton. Since the Baal Tzemach Tzedek did not tell him to do this to sell it into the chametz, wollt man lechede gekent medaik sein. It seems like we can derive from this as it not gehalten that Tzemach Tzedek was in the view as in them fall, that in this case, Aleph is das Asur. Number one, this is prohibited. Maybe the Tzemach Tzedek, in that case, you could not do it. Will doch die Sach zurück bekommen la'achar haPesach, since he wants to receive this item in return after Pesach. Und is roitze bikiyumoi von dem chometz. There is a concept that he wants this chometz to remain in existence. He wants this chometz. He wants this candy. So maybe because roitze bikiyumoi, the Rebbe is going to address it that doesn't really apply. That because he wants this to be during Pesach, he wants its existence. So that's why he can't sell it in the chametz. That wouldn't be sufficient. Number two, has helped nitke mechida la'akum. But bichlal, maybe we say selling to a guy is not really valid. But a mechilas chametz is mutter. Why do we sell chametz? The reason why it's mutter is permissible. Choch das is kiharome. Even though it seems almost like making a trick over here. We all know that we want and to get the chametz back, and we're just selling it as a technical sale. And we have in mind to get back the chametz after Pesach. And also, and this is also permitted to sell L'nochri hameakira yudei, quoting from the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. You can sell it to somebody who you know, a friend of yours. Afal pishu yudei b'hanochri, even though he knows that this guy shelo yiga b'chemtzei klal, he isn't going to touch your chametz at all. Elish merenoloi, he's going to guard it to him ad la'achar Pesach, until after Pesach. He knows that he's going to give it back to him. So notwithstanding, you're giving it to a goy. Looks like a trick because you know that the goy isn't going to use it. You know the goy isn't going to take it. He's just keeping it for you till after Pesach. He'll give it back to you. So b'chlal, the whole sale of chametz looks like a harama, looks like a trick. You want to get it back, and you have somebody doing you a favor holding it for you. So why does it help selling it like that? Well, this is midrabanan. Because the entire sale of chametz is not a Torah sale, we're going to say. The Rebbe doesn't agree with that, but maybe we're going to say, b'chlal, it's not, it's a trick. And since the whole sale of chametz is midrabanan, because the truth of the matter is that maybe you are already mevatel the chametz, and it's not real chametz that you're selling over there. I shouldn't say not because of mevatel, but because you're actually holding on to the chametz. But you're selling things that are only midrabanan, and that's why it's that it's only chametz midrabanan. But that would work for ordinary chometz, which he wants to get back and not get back. But in this case, he has precisely these specific candies. That's what he wants. Benidin de dan. Aber is the mechira inyan fun ha'aroma nikeres, that it's a sale, a trick which is sort of obvious. It's an obvious because he wants it. Mainly in azafal, maybe in such a case, haben die Chachamim nit matir given al yedei mechira. Maybe the Chachamim did not permit this through mechira. Again, the Rebbe has a whole long discussions over here in the Haaretz and the halachas of it, but the Rebbe is just suggesting that perhaps the wholesale is a rabbinic value because it's only a issue by an issue midrabanan, which it helps for. And how come it helps? Because it's issue midrabanan. The Chachamim allowed this kind of a haroma, but something which is a haroma nikeres, when it's a recognizable haroma, and you mamish want that piece from your father's candies and some tzedek, maybe wouldn't help. But the Rebbe says that's not really the case. You cannot say that. You can't say so. But first of all, the first issur is you say because you want to stay. The Alter Rebbe, der Mont nicht in Shulchan Aruch, dem Issur in the Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe does not mention the prohibition of Reitze B'Kiyumai by Chometz B'Pesach. That if you want its existence, so Chometz B'Pesach, that should make it also, but Alter Rebbe doesn't mention it. We find this concept in other Isurim, but not by Chometz B'Pesach. So, because the child wants it during Pesach, and he's not willing to give it up, that would not negate the sale. But number two, this that we're saying that it's not really a sale, it's only a haroma, but the Chachamim allowed it because with the Rabbanon, the Rebbe says that's not really the Alter Rebbe's view. Base, v'das roiv haposkim, according to the view of majority of the codifiers. Obefrat, and especially Ledas Admor Hazokin, according to the view of the Alter Rebbe, is Mechiras Chometz a Mechira Gemura. Selling the Chometz is a complete sale, be'oifen, in such a way, as ivarhit euch from zu sein of Bal Yiro, Bal Yimotza. That protects you so you don't violate a Torah prohibition of Bal Yiro, Bal Yimotze from the Torah. Oich de'eraisa, also a Torah. If you sell your chametz, you protect, you're not violating Bal Yiro, Bal Yimotze of the Torah. Warum dem chametz was men verkauft is nit bechlal bittel v'hefker. The chametz that you sell is not included in the bittel v'hefker. And therefore, you can't say it's only midrabanan, because you're not really mafkirit and you're not really mavatlet. And therefore, the Isur of Chometz is an Isur min HaTorah. And the sale is a good sale, because the sale is not a haram. The bottom line is, the sale, if it's done the proper way, is a true sale. The fact that you know who the guy is going to hold it for you and he's not, okay, that's what he wants to do, but that doesn't negate the sale. That doesn't make the sale not a good sale. The motions of a sale are in place. The tactics, the legalities of the sale are in place. It's not a harome. It protects you from Bal Yiro, Bal Yimotze min HaTorah, and it's a complete sale. So the question becomes again, why would the Tzemach Tzedek not allow the Rebbe Rashab to go ahead and put it into the chametz like other gedolim did it, and they would put it in the chametz, and that would not have a problem? The Rebbe negates the two issues of Reitze B'Kiyumai, doesn't mention the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, and it is the Rebbe points proves that the Alter Rebbe holds it's a valid kosher sale of the Torah. And then the Rebbe says maybe there's even another. We don't even have to sell it. We may be able to not violate it by actually making it into hefker. And the Rebbe says how that hefker would work, even though if If you make it hefker, you mevatel it. But if you take it out of your premises and you put it away somewhere, that may be a hefker. That would be okay. Gimel. Heute wird man in der zweiten Fall gekannt gefunden. It would seem that in the related case that the Rebbe Rashab, you could have found an ander Eitze wie zu halten ganz dem Chometz. You could have found another means how to keep this Chometz whole. Nicht onkomendig zu mechidas Chometz leine Yehudi, you would not need to come on to selling the Chometz to an Anju. Mafkir sein dem Chometz koidem zman isurei, to give up your ownership of the Chometz before the Isur begins. After midday, once the Isur is there, you cannot be mafkir, it's not shaloi. But before that, to make it hefker. Oh, make it hefker, but we can't just make all chametz hefker chotch, because the chachamim don't want it in your possession. You might come to eat it. Chotch as bitl vehefker by chametz. If you're just mevatel and you make hefker by chametz helft nor min haTorah, that will only solve that. If you were mevatel and mafkir, that will solve that you will not be violating the Torah prohibition of nitzu overzaim b'bal yiro bal yimotza. You will not be violating not to be seen and not to be found possessing chametz if you were mevatel it. It helps for that, but still. We learn yiro. So we say shalacha I atoroya. You're not allowed to see yours. Avol atoroya shalachein b'shal hefker. But if it's others at hefker, it's okay. So hefker you're allowed to see. So min haTorah, that would take help, but it still wouldn't help with the rabbanon. Of the chachamim have been geiser given. The chachamim decreed as bittul vehefker is nit maspik, that to be mevatel and hefker isn't sufficient. It's necessary to get rid of the chametz. In actuality, you can't just say I give up hope and that would be sufficient. But is ober euch of them faran eitze. But there is a way of getting away from this prohibition of the Rabbon. So first you're mafkir it, so it's not violating bal yiro bal yimotza. How do you get? Chachamim don't allow that. The Chachamim wanted you to actually remove it from your possession or sell it to a goy. That's also considered your possession because the place belongs to a goy. It's not yours. But man ken doch mafkir sein dem chametz nit nor believe, because you're able to give up ownership of the chametz not only in your heart, when es soll verbleiben in sein Rishus and it remains in your possession, nor by mafkir sein dem chametz, but when he's mafkir the chametz, soll es arois nemen for sein Rishus, to physically take it out of your domain, und abweglegen b'rishus harabim b'mokim hefker mamash, and to place it in the Rishus Harabim, which is actually open for everybody to take. Well, if he's going to put it there, somebody's going to eat up the candy. So what is he going to have from this? In an ort was gay and it came mentioned, but he places in a place where people are not walking. Nobody's going to see it. It's actually hefker. Und dann noch Zeichen sein darin nach Pesach, and then he will take it back after Pesach. Was lechoire, if he did so, their meat is membavorn late by the timing, that will protect you. Both reasons why the Chachamim instituted, welche the Chachamim sagen gewen as Bilkul vehefker allein soll nicht sein genug. The Chachamim instituted that just giving up your rights in hefker isn't sufficient, and when you physically remove it and put it there, that would be okay. What is the reason the Chachamim say that you cannot just be mevatel? Number one, bittul vehefker is totally b'machshavtu shel ha'odom. It's if you're mevatel and you mafkir, it is really hinges on what you're thinking about. Is man choishes, so we worry as if that does mafkir zayin nit b'leiv shalom, and maybe you're not going to, with a full heart, gonna be give up the hope. The Riber Darfes does Aris Rama for Zaydishu, so he has to move it from his domain, because even though you say that you mavatel it, you say you're mafkir, but no, but you got to actually remove it. according to this reason, in this case, you're actually removing it. So whether you mean it in your heart or you don't, doesn't matter, but you actually made it hefker, you removed it. Bays, the other reason the Alter Rebbe gives mitzad dem. Tom, there's another reason. While because a person is accustomed the whole year in the chametz, if he's going to have it in his house, so because he's accustomed to eating, if you talk about other treif stuff that he doesn't eat the whole year, okay, he knows that he doesn't touch. But the chametz he eats all year, so sometimes he's used to eating this, and because of his being used to it, so it's possibly it's very close to happen that he'll forget. Sheyishkach v'isurei. He'll forget that it's also if it's around. V'yochel memenu v'oibdos v'zayin b'gvula v'yochel memenu. And if this is going to be in his property, he might eat it. He might eat it, and therefore we tell him to remove it. So in this case, he's not going to have both of these problems. Seems like an eitzah to do it. Where do we see such that? We actually find that you can do so to take it out of your possession and give up hope, and put it away in a place which is hefker for everybody. And after Pesach to take it back. Okay, Meduma, the Rebbe says, he imagines that it finds in the many stories of the life of many Hasidim who had the minhag of receiving shirayim mikiyetza, but Shenogu came. That they had this custom. So there was another way for the Tzemach Tzedek, take it out of your possession, give up, be mafkirit, and then take it back later on. So the Rebbe brings down here that there is a problem with that. The wanting to this would not really fit, even though that it was done by some. But the Rebbe brings down that from the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, it's not really, would not really work. Couldn't tell him to do that. Why? The Tambe Pashas with the Tzemach Tzedek does only need geisen ton. Why did he not just tell him to take it and remove it from his domain, put it out in the hefker place? Even though we find that according to many opinions, Megman Mafkir Zain Farzman Isurei, you're allowed to give up, make it hefker before the Isur takes place. Ubefrad b'mokum hefker, especially to put it in a place of hefker. Midadei Tzuzeka Zain in them, Lachar Pesach, we're having in mind to take possession in it after Pesach. But Mishar Poskim is mashma that's helping. From the other codifiers is mashma that wouldn't help. Unazai Paskin the Alter Rebbe rules so. Quoting from the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. Afilu hinichloi b'mokem avukor lekoil. Even if he leaves it in a place which is hefker to everybody to go there. Sorich sheyafkirenu legamri befivu b'libei. He must give it up totally with his mouth and his heart. But he cannot have in mind at the time that he makes it hefker, to take it after Pesach. In other words, he has in mind, listen, if somebody else is going to take it before me, okay, but nobody takes it, I'm going to get it back. Don't have so in mind. If somebody else is not going to come before me, so he has in his mind, I'm giving it up totally. If somebody's going to take it before me, okay, let it be so. But still, he has in mind She'im yesh b'daiti kain. If he has in mind to go ahead and grab it first after Pesach, eine hefker gomor, that's not really complete hefker, baruhu kishaloi mamish, it's like his. So you can't really, it's not really hefker to have in mind to take it back. Nochmer, it's even more. Even you have chometz that somebody threw in a place of hefker, in the trash. Sheshlicha sham Yisrael kodim shoashish better Pesach. A Yid threw it out over there before the 6th hour and of Pesach when you're not allowed to hold chametz anymore. So he should not be violating Bal Yiro by Motzah Pesach. You're allowed to do so lechatchila to actually get rid of it, throw it out. He did it. He threw it out. He was mafkirit and he threw it out. But still, after Pesach, all Yidden are not allowed to. Any Jewish person can't benefit from that because the fact is that the Rebbe explains also a lot in the other series, Aroma, this and that, but we'll leave it for the Sicha. But the bottom line is that Tzemach Tzedek could not suggest to him to make it hefker in a way that he wants to take it after Pesach, because that's not really hefker, so that wasn't an option. But we still get back to the question, why couldn't he sell? But even in this case, the Rebbe still argues, because it wasn't real chametz, maybe that still does work. It's difficult to say that's the reason in our case why you didn't want him to be mafkirit. The Rebbe is later on going to give another reason, because Reishi is letzich doveg and tzukerkas. And the first, we're just dealing here about candy. But it's at all not, it's not clear if there's any chametz in there. And even if there is chametz in there, is the snor tarumas chametz. It's only a mixture of chametz from kodim Pesach that was mixed before Pesach. Was when dan bottled beroiv or the besamach, which becomes nullified either in the roiv or in 60. Uns is neto in them ke baliro balir motze bideraisa kolponim. There's no baliro balir motze from the Torah. For sure not. It may not even have chametz at all, and even if it has chametz, it's bottled beroiv or besamach from before Pesach. So there's certainly not baliro from the Torah. But oid. So we're not dealing by a Torah further. The reason why such a hefker doesn't help is doch zu lieben tam, was jeder Mensch wird so tun. The reason is because then everybody will do so. So that he should be able to benefit from the chametz after Pesach. People are going to do that. They're going to make hefker and then they're going to use it after Pesach. But in our case, since he didn't really have in mind to benefit from the candy in any way, because he was just getting rid of it. Even not to selling, let's say, nor gewollt halten ganz. He just wanted to have them as it is. He wasn't going to sell them and make the money for the candies. He just wanted those candies. He wanted to hold them whole. So to adding to this, this is not a suffix derabonon canal. This is only a suffix midrabonon, as we said before. Whether this mixture of chametz, you'd even need to make it hefker, remove it. Especially, it's not something which is common. So it's not, can't say, well, people are going to do so. This is not something that he would want to have it, and being that it's not really can sein in dem Fall so it's possible that in case like this, the rabbis did not decree to begin with as other healthcare soll nicht masvig sein, and that this hefker shouldn't help. So the Rebbe is arguing, wants to find another reason why he told him not to do so. Just the fact that this is not the real hefker, and because people will do so, doesn't apply. This is an exceptional case. He didn't really want to benefit. He wasn't even going to sell it, and it's really not even chametz. So that should have been sufficient. There's another reason the Rebbe wants to find a spiritual reason also that didn't want to give up, and they hope the make it happen. Now the Rebbe in the bracket says we're talking here about a object of a minor, and maybe this is a whole doesn't apply. We can't fragen if the klolus hashalker v'taria now. You can't question and say this whole debate that we're having as the ganze Linie from Mechira v'Hefker is nicht shaykh beniden the dan. The whole idea to sell it or to give it up, it doesn't apply. We're talking about an object of a minor. Was can nor koine sein, can only acquire the das acheres. We have a das acheres makne. So tzedek, you can give him, but the child does not have the power of giving away. Ober nit makne sein, oder mafkir sein, but you can't give it a king to somebody else or give it up. So you can't say, so what are we discussing over here that the child should make it hefker? It can't make it hefker. Because because a minor who is supported by the father, he's on his father's table, is der din, the halach is as the metzia was gefindt, that whether he finds a find, umatona was kriegt, or he gets a gift, is as shalav if it belongs to his father. Ubimela liegt auf von Vater der chiyuv, so therefore it belongs to its father is obligated to verkaufen to a goy oder mafkir sein, to either sell it to a goy or to make it hefker. My time is move on, and for the same reason understood as from them sipura now kemen it medayik sein, that from the story you can't derive from this as loit das atzamach tzedek is a cotton muzer in bal yiro bal yemotze, that the cotton is warned and bal yiro bal yemotze chayv lafrishe mezeh, and you have to remove him from this so that he shouldn't be violating. You can't learn because or else why didn't he just let his cotton, let him have it? And to say that if a cotton's chametz is when Pesach, it's also bano, and that's why he had to get rid of it. But I'm noticing is them, but this is not given by the chametz for sure. Besides the fact we did not even know that we're talking about real chametz, al pidin is the shaykh zum tat nagodl. By the halacha, this belongs to his father, who was an adult. And therefore, this whole question would not apply. So the Rebbe says that from halachic perspectives, the sale would have been a good sale in the chametz, and a hefker, removing it from his possession, would have been a good option, and this belongs to the father technically, would have been a good option in this case. B'chlal, the Rebbe says, tzarichiyin, you need to look in Simen Ken von Teuchen Sipur Hanal, whether from the content of the above story, Arislan Haloches in Emdin, Isur Chometz Benegei Lechalodom. Can you really learn laws in the law and the prohibition of Chometz, and as it applies to all people, Hayois Adoretzach Wegen Chometz the Rabbonon, Efsher, it's talking first of Chos the Rabbonon, Efsher nor Sofik Chometz, and perhaps only a Darva Chometz. An Inyan Miyuchad Shkiach, it's something which is not common. wegen Ashtuvos Mahader given betachlis v'chulu, about a home in which they were very careful. Maybe over there they took extra precaution. So it's hard to learn out halachas from this to say that you could, that to say that you cannot give it up because of hefker, because that wouldn't help. It's that, why didn't he do it that way? It's not something we can learn halachas from this, because there's a lot of other reasons why we got rid of the chametz, including also it was a very careful home, so, and therefore it was more uh machmer over there. So that's not something we can learn on halachas, why he didn't do so, why he did so, and that should prove that you can't sell it, that should prove you can't be hafker. It's not something so easy to say that we can learn from that halacha. So while it's not exactly clear from this story whether this could be done or not be done, maybe it is different in this case, and with the Rebbe Rashab and the home over there. But the Rebbe is going to bring down that this was actually a tradition that is brought down by Hasidim, that they would eat up the chametz that they received from the Rebbe before Pesach rather than selling it in the chametz. And so there seems to be, rather than selling it to chametz or being mafkirit, they would eat it up. Why is that? And the Rebbe will explain, well, they didn't want to really sell the chametz to a goy. It also depends what you sell the goy. Do you sell him all of the chametz? The Rebbe is going to conclude that, it becomes the goy can go ahead and sell it to somebody else. So therefore, you don't really want to give it away to the goy. Hey, wird man das verstehen, Behagdim will understand this by introducing as apia shmua mehachasidim, as by tradition heard from the Hasidim. And the Rebbe makes a note here that he didn't hear it directly from the Friedrich Rebbe. Is the Hanhoga von Chasidei Rabbi Seinu Nisienu given al derech hanal, that the conduct of the Hasidim of our Rebbes was similar to the above. When they had a food or a drink from the Rebbe that they received from the Rebbe, can't halten the Pesach, and they could not hold on to it on Pesach. Hat man das nicht verkauft in Chametz, they did not sell it into Chametz, nor man hat das aufgegessen, but they ate it up, oder ausgetrunken for Pesach, or they drank it up before Pesach. Und der Tam davon yeshleimer bepashtus. What's the reason for this? We can say simply, sis heipech koved Rabbi. The Rebbe says it's not respectful to the Rebbe to nemen seine shirayim, to take his leftovers, ukeyetzeber similar. Ubefrat was hat ihm gegeben, especially that he gave it to him. Und sie weggeben oder verkaufen zu einer Yehudi, and to give it away or to sell it to a non-Jew. It's not a respectful thing. It's not respectful. Noch mehr. In Fall, when der Michael Gadoima wird verkauft, in a case when the food or similar gets sold und geht über in Rishus von einer Yehudi and gets transferred into the possession of a non-Jew, is tzorich. So this is something that needs to be looked into. Noch then when there eat kauft das up zurück, after he buys it back. See, as bleibt dann in der Michael die frierde Kedusha von der Tzadik, does it remain in it the previous Kedusha of the Tzadik? If you did sell it, first of all, it's disrespectful to sell it. So that's why they didn't sell it. But number two, let's say they did sell it, does the sanctity and that special holiness that the tzaddik put into the food that he gave you, does that still exist after receiving it back from the goy? And the Rebbe is going to make halachically a question. This depends on the two opinions about how deep the chametz enters into it. But the Rebbe is going to say when you sell it totally. So when you get it back, you're not going to get back that chametz anyway. So first of all, it's disrespectful. And the Rebbe is going to bring out in the end that you're actually not going to get back the sanctity of the Rebbe's chametz anyways, and therefore that's why the tradition was not to sell it, but rather to eat it up. Both it would seem that we can say as the answer of the Shaila Hanal, that the answer on the above question is totally birur mahus ha'isur from chametz bepesach, whether it remains after you get it back from the goy depends on how the isur of chametz bepesach is. How much does it take hold? As the language of the Ragachover. See that Isur Chametz is atoyar, is the prohibition of Chametz only a description. Das heißt, was der Michael kayetze by is a Chametz dicker. It's a food or whatever it is a Chametz dik. So it's described. It's the description is Chametz, and that is what the Isur is. Or that the Isur is halal ha'etzem. The Isur applies to the essence. It's a chametz dika food, but it becomes also all of it becomes also. He explains that this is totally in the machlokus for Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Whether chametz after Pesach is prohibited to benefit. How deep the Isur enters into the chametz, in its tziyur or in its enes. The man this virule asur, the one who holds that it's asur bano minatoida, basically asur bano chametz over Pesach. Svirule the Isur chal al ha'etzem. The Isur is on the essence. So even though after Pesach it is no longer chametz because it's after Pesach, but still, the whole essence became chametz osir. When the man is svirale muter, the one that holds that it's permissible, Rabbi Shimon holds that it's permissible. Svirale lahabe rak toyar. He holds it only went into the description of the chametz. Ukshaholach hazman but la toyar. When the time is gone, it's no longer chametz now. So therefore, it will be muter. Und das ist echt verbunden. This is also connected to another machlokes, mit der machlokes von Rabbi Yehuda mit the Chachomim. They also argue, this is Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, but over there is Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachomim. But Rabbi Yehuda, he says you have to burn it. Burning it, you're taking away the whole etzem. You're not just taking away the chametz. That you don't have to get rid of it in a way of burning it, but you can also crumb it up and throw it into the wind, or throw it into the ocean. Because what's the same thing as before Reb Shimon Rabbi Yehuda? The Chachamim halten as der Isur Chametz is betoyer from der Zach. The Chachamim hold that the prohibition of Chametz is on the description of it. Is the riber genug mefarer v'zoyda l'ruach hamat. That's why it's sufficient to crumb it up and throw it into the wind or throw it into the ocean. Then there's no chametz. Because damut ver bottle the toyer from chametz, then the description of chametz is negated, is no longer there. Ubemela the inyan from achila v'ano, you can eat, you can benefit from it, and that is because there's no more chametz there. Hagam es verbleibt der etzem chametz, but the essence of the chametz still remains. Dagegen Rabbi Yehuda halt as the Isur chametz. Rabbi Yehuda holds that the prohibition of chametz is chal al ha'etzem. That rests on the essence. The riber darf man dem chametz verbrennen. That's why that chametz needs to be burned. as a bottle werden sein etzem etzia, so that the essence, the existence of the chametz should be negated. Nicht nur der toyar und efshoris, not only the description, the design, the possibility from achila und hanoah, from eating and drinking, but to actually get rid of the essence. So now, what happens after you get back the chametz? If you sold it, maybe you can say that also depends on how deep the chametz went. That if the chametz went into the entire thing, the essence, then the Rebbe's value of it after you get it back isn't going to be there. But if it went through only in the descriptions, but the essence remained, maybe that still gets the value of the Rebbe's holiness there. So according to this, we can say, this is also connected to the above question. If we hold that the prohibition rests on the essence, and that's why, what am I selling to the goy? I'm also selling him the essence of the chametz. So there is no place in the chametz, any existence, with the kedusha hakademus where the previous kedusha should remain holding on, because there's nothing left. You gave it all away. It's only the description. Which is addition to the essence of the miter. Was the riber is da mokim zu sagen, so therefore there is room to say, we can argue as by mechilas chametz, when you sell the chametz, they need to over sein of bali roba imotze. So in order you're selling it so that you don't violate by roba imotze, vert verkauft nor der dover neusef al etzem. You're only selling the added onto the etzem, the toyar, was is gebunden mit dem toyar, which is connected to the toyar. Ubemela bleibt in them the kedusha akademis. The kedusha akademis remains. The bailus ala etzem from them noisen. The ownership on the essence of the noisen, which means the Rebbe that gave it to you, still remains there. It remains there in the essence of the item, not in the descriptive part which you sold to the goy, but the essence remained there. Was on the etzem from the zach that touches the essence of the item, and that would remain there, and that you would be able to get back after Pesach. Ufizeh, and according to this, the Baal does the halacha is Rab Shimon, since the halacha is according to Rab Shimon as chometz, la'achar Pesach is muter b'hanoah, that is permissible hanoah, and the isur is nor as knas. We know that it's taki also b'hanoah, but that's only as a penalty, not from the Torah. And the same thing is, when we burn the chametz, it's not because we have to. Is doch nor haminag l'sertfo. The minhag is to burn it. Aber the halacha is doch v'de chachamim. The halacha remains as the chachamim, as is genug. It's sufficient. Mevarer v'zoyre l'ruach mataliyam, to from it up and throw it into the wind or throw it into the ocean. So then it would turn out as es macht nit ois zu verkaufen the shirayim von a tzadik v'kadoima, that it doesn't matter. You can sell the shirayim from a tzadik to a Yehudi, and when you get it back, you'll get back the kedusha of the tzaddik. Weil euch noch dem can verbleiben in them the kedusha of tzaddik. The kedusha of tzaddik remains even after that, based on the halacha and based on the opinion of Rab Shimon and the Chachomim. That is the etzem, chametz only touches the external part and not the etzem. Technically, we should be able to say that you can get back the kedusha of the tzaddik, because the tzaddik's kedusha holds on to the etzem. That's outside of the ramification of the chametz over there. But the Rebbe says no. This is just academic. Practically speaking, the guy owns every part. The essence with the he can do whatever he wants with it during the time. Rebbe says no, you can not really say so. But even though the purpose that you're selling it because you don't want to violate but the sale itself, you're selling it always. the opinion of most of the codifiers. Adosis, Amechire, Gemura Canal, this is a complete sale. I said before, dus haste. As der etzem hachometz is konui zum goy bikinyan gomur mideraisa. That the essence of the chometz is acquired to the goy with a complete kinyan eminatoira, as the Rebbe brought out before. So this is a real sale. Ubefrat lo takonas admur hazokin, especially according to the way the Alter Rebbe instituted, as bemachtan or of kablan. So there is an additional. You make a Jewish person who becomes the guarantee for this, gives it even more validity as a real sale. Biz, as the Nochri can dos verkaufen zu a zweiten Lacher Pesach. He has a right, he can go ahead and sell it to somebody else after Pesach. Das heißt, so what is the goy? As der hot nit blois as chus hi stamshus. The guy doesn't just have a right to use other akinyan blois in him toyer, or just an acquisition in the description for the zach. No, the etzem zach belongs to him. It actually belongs to him. The essence of this item belongs to him. So Balbizeh is moving. So according to this, it's understood. Was Chassidim haben nicht gewollt verkaufen advar Michael. They didn't want to sell a food item, which is chametzik, which they can't keep on Pesach, was mit Makabel gewinnt von Rebbe zu einer Yehudi to an Jew. Warum das ist nicht nur an Inje von Hepech bei Rabbi. Not only will this be against the honor of the Rebbe, as man soll die Shiraim kiyotze, that the leftovers are similar was mahot bakumen von a tzaddik übergeben in Rishus von eine Yehudi, to transfer it to the domain of a non-Jew. So this would be disrespect. You're giving it to a non-Jew. Vos is makabel chayis from Gimel Klipsat Meir, who gets his energy from the 3 Klipsat Meirs. Durch them, but more than that, because now durch them is man beyadayim mafkiach chas v'sholem. You actually, with your hands, through your act, you taking out, God forbid, the bailus hakedusha was his free given of them, the ownership of kedusha that was first in that food. You've taken it out, because once you gave it into the bailus of the goy, you're taking out the bailus of the kedusha and everything else, and that totally gets lost because it's owned by the goy. It's a sale. It is in every aspect of the matter. But we still have one issue here. Would they be able to be mafkirit, and the condition that the Rebbe has said before, could they have still been mafkir the chametz and still say that even though while it's hefker, it still remains in the possession of the tzaddik, and they're not taking it out? So the Rebbe continues to say that that would also not work. But first, the Rebbe is going to explain what is the laws of hefker. What does hefker mean? Does it mean that it belongs to nobody, or it means that everybody has a part in it? According to this, you can explain why there wasn't the custom to mafkir sein die Shiraim b'chulu von tzaddik to give up make hefker the leftover of a tzaddik. Is nicht gewend an Hoge zum Afgir sein, die Shiraim, and explain why it wasn't the conduct to give up the ownership of the leftovers from that tzaddik. Together from Hefker, the definition of Hefker, Zog the Ragachover, says the Ragachover can be translated in 2 ways. Tzi der Oiftu von Hefker is whether the novelty, what does Hefker do, as the Balabais is sich misalik from der Zach, was that is mafkir, that the owner removes himself from the item that he gives up hope, und es gehört nicht zu keinem, and it belongs to no one. Other, so basically there is no ownership for them. Other as durch dem mafkir sein, when you give up your right, make it hefker, bakumen alle Menschen, then all people get as chus v'kinyan in dover anivke. They get a merit, they get some acquisition in the item that was made hefker. Und der Mit ist der Agachor mevayer pluktes amayroin. This difference, the Ragachover explains the disagreement between the Amayroin. Wenn einer hat angeschöpft Wasser von a Boir shel Hefker, Yom Tov zu lieb sein Chaver. If one draws water from a pit which doesn't belong to anybody on Yom Tov, and he draws the water for somebody else, how far is the Tchum? On Yom Tov, you can only walk the 2,000 feet. So how far can you carry that water? Zogt Rab Nachman, as that Tchum wird gerechnet. Rab Nachman says that we consider the 2,000 ames keragli mishin ismaluloi, like the feet, the one who was filled for him. You can only carry the water to the extent of the person who you filled it up for. Wherever he can walk, that's the place you can carry the water. Das heißt, as the Alpayim Amma from Mokum Shvisa, the 2,000 ames from the place that you can go where you rest when Shabbos Yom Tov came in, werd gerechnet von dem Ort, that is counted from the place wo es gefindt sich der verwemmen es hat geschöpfte Wasser, the one for whom he has drawn the water. That's the area where that water can travel, is the place where the person who the water was drawn for. Rav Sheshes zogt, and Rav Sheshes says, as merechentes geragla mamali, that the tchum Shabbos where it goes according to the one who fills it, wherever the person that's filling it, not for whom it was filled, but who's filling it, that's this distance you can go. As merechen de alpayim amo from the memali, you count the 2,000 amas of the one that fills it. Und the Gemara sagt, b'mai kom mifalgi, what is the machlokes over here, whether it's 2,000 of the one who was filled for, and or for the one who does the filling. Mar sovar bira de hefkedahu. One soul says that the pit is ownerless. Umar sovar bira de shutfi. And one says it's a partnership pit. Everybody owns it. Is that Agachova Mevayel? Agachova explained. As beide halten as the boy is hefker, that both holds it's a hefker, it's an animal boys. Nor Rab Nachman hold as the gather from hefker is that the what is hefker is as alle haben im as chuz v'chelik. Everybody has a right, has a portion in it. Ich der verwemmen the Wasser, also for the one he draw the water for. The far hot as them din bid the shutful. That's why it has the din of a pit of partners. He's a partner in it. And a partnership, so it goes like his feet, one of the partners. Sheshes halt, Hefker meint, Sheshes hold that Hefker means as does get nitzukenim, it doesn't belong to anyone. Ubemelen, therefore, can der memale zeiche sein for sich. So the one who fills can fill marriage for himself. Ein schon, aber nicht sicher sein, die Wasser fahren zweiten. He cannot marry it for somebody else. It's not his. He can for himself and not for the other person. Und der Fahr kann man nicht rechnen die Alpayim Amma von zweiten. We cannot count it the 2,000 amas from the other one, nor kiragla hamimali, but rather like the feet of the one that fills it. Basically, we're not going. The Rebbe is not going into the whole thing. Why can't he be zoicha for the other one, even if it's hefker? Why not only for himself? The Rebbe says, looking over there. But for our discussion over here, it's just the idea is whether a hefker means each one has a schus in it or nobody has a schus in it. When like beide svaris in hefker is moving benuden nidan kid come on, and either way, in our case, we understand why he didn't want to make it hefker. So test. So if it belongs to anybody, it belongs then to a guy also. Later svaras hefker poilt azos ger tzalamin, according to the idea that hefker impacts that it belongs to everyone. Is moving bepashtus farvosmot nit gebolt mafkir zayin di sheraim. It is self-evident why they did not want to give up the Shiraim now. Umitzad, themselves time by Mechidit to einer Yehudi, for the same reason you only give it to a non-Jew. Warum demot will das belong to alle goyim from the world? Then you would be belonging to all goyim of the world. Ubefrat, especially as bepashto sein in the Eden, was ein Ritzoinem bechametz bepesach. So those Yidden that don't want chametz and pesach mesalik, they remove from bakum them schus in them. They remove their merit from getting the schus of the hefker. You can't force them to get it in them hefker. Und das ist hepech kved rabbi kinal. That would be disrespect to the Rav to take it and give it away to all the goyim, not even the Yidden, because the Yidden don't want to be zeichen in the chametz and pesach. Und in ein prat, and in a certain extent, in one detail, is das mafkir sein, making it hefker noch ärger wie verkaufen es an einer Yehudi. It's even worse than selling it to a not-Jew. B'shas verkauft zu an einer Yehudi. When you are selling it to a non-Jew, you are able to search up such a non-Jew, which is of the kind of the nations of the world. Was the Rambam Paskin wegen ihm, the Rambam rules about him as Yeshlam Chelik Leilam Haba. They have a part in the world to come. So you find a good guy. Befrat noch, especially as their guy is matzel them Eden, that this guy protects the Yid from over sein, often is of Isur Chametz bePesach, to protect from the prohibition of Chametz and Pesach. Mashenkin does Wert Hefker Lakoil, but when it becomes Hefker to everybody, Gehertos to all goyim, then it belongs to all goyim. Also to those who are not Chassidim, and their meat noch mehr bestiert zu Kved Rabbi, so that makes it even more contradictory to the honoring of his teacher. So that's like the idea that it belongs to everybody. But Yud, euch Leute der Svore, as Hefker is nicht a Sach, was hat a Sheiches zu allem. Also, according to the idea that Hefker is not an item that belongs to everybody, is move on, it's understood. Nemen adover yokor. So you're just making an effort to take something precious. Adover should be gedusha, something which is holy. Was mahotas bakum merabi, that you received it from your teacher, from your rebbe. Und das belev sholem avatel sein, and to with a complete heart give it up. Und ibelos doesn't become hefker, and to leave it in a place of hefker. Is euch ein Inyan von hepech hakovet. This is still a matter which is contrary to honor. Al dos weiß that hepech hachashivus, this points to the opposite of importance. High timer, and for this reason, hat euch der Tzemach Tzedek sich mishtadel gemacht. That's why the Tzemach Tzedek put an effort in. As anstatt them, as the Zuckerke soll gehören zu einer Yehudi, instead of these candies should belong to a non-Jew, or der sein Hefker, or to be ownerless, so sei sein Einikel. So he, his grandchild, Chak, with Kedusha Admar Rashab, the Rebbe Rashab, Oifessen, should eat them, when they sollen werden, Damu Bosor Kipsore, they should become part of his body, the blood and the flesh of his body. Yudalef, from Kol HaNal Kumt Arois noch mer behafloah. This brings out even more, in an outstanding way, the Hoyroah, the lesson in Goydel HaYishtadlus, in how much effort we need to put in and the way of how to educate. Bald die Zuckerkes seinen given beim Rebbe Marashab Nishmos Eid Nazoitayr. Since these candies were so precious dear to the Rebbe Rashab, as to look them, hat sie gehalten, ganz bei sich Birshus, that because of that he held them whole in his possession. Afil mevater given of them. He even gave up. As Olveren Dama Basar Kipsori, if he ate it, it would become the blood in the flesh like his flesh. It would become, internalize it. He's holding it and they're not making it part of himself. That's how precious it was. And there is really no prohibition to give up the ownership or sell them chulu. So they should have given into him. Do him as he wanted. Wollte sie gehabt haben mit euch nach Pesach. He would have them also after Pesach. Das wollte dem Tomit Maskir when this would have constantly reminded him and aroused him of their kedusha of the sanctity, knisa lecheder, going into the cheder chula. I was yeshleimar. I gonna say as you say in the inner nekra kedusha. You're gonna say the kedusha will be uprooted. You sold it. You gave it up. Only if you show is given and for temporary was in the possession of a non-Jew. He said, "Doch given a kid from Ben Sholosh. She was only a 3-year-old. Und nicht gewusst davon and they didn't know about it that the kedusha is goes away. Nor does that man goydel he stadlus in Inyan Achinuch. We see the great effort in the aspect of education. Nit nor in Yoni deraisa v'derabbanon, not only in matters of Torah and that comes from the Rabbanon, afil in a hider mitzvah, not only even in a perfection of a mitzvah, nor oichim in hogim v'inyonim v'u chasidim, but also in the custom and the matters of chasidim. Was as elder zach zol zayin lamitos should be in truth. If it needs to be eaten up, that's what needs to be done. Und das darf man tun, when this needs to be done, nicht nur dann, wenn das kommt on gering, not only when this comes on easy, but euch b'shas is verbunden mit der Tenua. It's tied in such a movement, was liferecha mechunach, in relative to the one who's being educated, is as an for Mesiras Nefesh. It's self-sacrifice. Mesiras Haras giving up his will. He wants those candies. Do it in the right way. And as the many stories we find, also as it relates to the education from Chak Meir Admur from the Rebbe Maishver, the Rebbe's father-in-law, was Demel. Gewähnt man ein dem Kind, then you train the child. Nicht nur lishanis midoisavativir, not only to change your natural characteristic traits, nor euch tiviim midoisav. Not only your natural, but also you change around the nature of the midas itself. Although this is a path of education, which we tell about certain select individual in the sea, Israel, but since this was revealed to each one, this is a lesson for each one. In their Sicha, as it says in the Sicha, that's the education we need to have. And their koyach of the Reif, and this power for this hotman for Rabbi Seinu Nisienu, from our Rebbes, our leaders, was Basaresha Gufa Ozel, that following the head follows the body, to gain Berchisehem, to go in their ways, Ubedracheim, the passageways, Asher Hirenu, Netzach Salavod, that they've instructed us to go for eternity. This is Mesichas Shabbos Parshas Bolok, Tovshin Lamed Gimel.